She stood before the congregation, her head bowed, hands shaking. The church bell had rung at dawn, summoning the entire village to witness her humiliation. Her crime? Desire? Wanting love from someone other than her husband, a man she had been given to, not chosen. In Puritan America, love was not a right, it was a risk. From the earliest settlements in the 1600s, Puritan communities were built on the idea that obedience, especially for women, kept society pure. Men ruled the household. Ministers ruled the soul, and God watched everything. Marriage was not about romance. It was a contract. A woman would work, obey, and bear children. Her husband would control her property, her labor, and even her body. But people are human. They fall in love. They fall out of it. And sometimes they look for passion in forbidden places. The Puritans believed adultery threatened not just a marriage, but the entire community, so they punished it harshly. A woman caught with a lover might be whipped publicly, sometimes with up to 40 lashes. She could be branded with the letter A for adulteress. Some were forced to stand on a stool during Sunday services while the minister described their sin in agonizing detail. The public was expected to stare. Shame was a tool of control. Men also committed adultery frequently. But while men might face a fine or a stern reprimand, women paid a far higher price. In their eyes, a woman's disobedience was not just sinful, it was a direct rebellion against the natural order God had created. Historians estimate that in colonial New England, thousands of women endured public punishment for actions their husbands might easily hide. A woman could even be accused if she was impregnated while her husband was away on business or lost at sea. Her own body was evidence against her, undeniable, unarguable, and often it wasn't about sin at all. It was about power. Some marriages were cold, violent, or loveless, but divorce was nearly impossible. In the Massachusetts Bay Colony, fewer than 10 divorces were granted per year throughout much of the 17th century, and only when the man petitioned for it, usually by accusing the woman of adultery or refusing her marital duty. The law protected the husband's authority at all costs. Women were owned, spiritually and legally. Still, passion is stubborn. Secret relationships blossomed in forest barns, in candlelit rooms where footsteps were quiet and windows were covered. Love notes were passed under bread loaves. Brief touches were exchanged in crowded markets. A stolen moment could mean everything or destroy an entire life. One woman, known to history as Mary L., was caught after giving birth to a child with features that clearly did not resemble her husband. She begged the court for mercy, saying she married young, never loved the man she was assigned to, and simply wanted to feel desired. But the court answered with the whip and a lifetime of broken status labeled a fallen woman. Her child would inherit her shame, passed down like a curse. While women were condemned, men often escaped scrutiny. Powerful men who seduced married women sometimes convinced courts the women had been the aggressors, or that Satan influenced them. The devil was a convenient scapegoat. If temptation existed, blame the weaker sex. To the Puritans, sexuality was a spiritual battlefield. Ministers preached that the devil lurked around the marriage bed, especially if a woman showed too much interest in pleasure. Female desire itself was considered dangerous, a spark that could burn the foundations of the community. So they taught women to fear their own longing. Yet behind closed doors, many wives silently dreamed of something more, a gentle hand, a loving word, a marriage not built on duty alone. In their private prayers, some asked God why their hearts rebelled against the rules made in His name. And though the punishments were brutal, the whispers of rebellion never stopped. Love found cracks in the wall of fear. There were husbands who were kind and wives who were respected, examples rarely discussed in the darker pages of history. But the fear of public shame, of losing everything, silenced countless women who lived their entire lives in quiet heartbreak. The irony is that Puritan leaders preached purity while scandals brewed constantly among them. Ministers fathered children out of wedlock. Married deacons seduced young servants. And when the guilty had power, sins were washed away with excuses and biblical loopholes. But if a woman sinned, or if someone simply accused her of sinning, forgiveness was nearly impossible. Even today, the echoes remain. We no longer brand letters into skin or enforce public whippings. But society still judges women more harshly for the same choices men are often forgiven for. The double standard didn't die with the Puritans, it evolved. The story of broken vows in early America is not a tale about lust. It is a story about how love becomes dangerous when control becomes law. It's a reminder that those who fear desire the most often seek to control it in others. And that the heart, no matter how much it is punished, still finds ways to want. As we look back, we see women whose names never made it into books, whose voices never reached courts, whose longing was turned into crime. But their courage, the courage to feel in a world that demanded numbness, remains a quiet rebellion written into the roots of American history. Hidden in the shadows of Puritan obedience were heartbeats refusing to be silent.